Oh, we're live. It says we're live.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah.
So much for instilling them with a sense of awe. So are we live on the original thing?
We're live. I just sent them the new link.
Oh, okay.
So let's see.
Like the room.
Populating.
It's kind of like, I don't know, can they hear us?
They should be able to hear us, yeah. I know in about 10 seconds.
It's kind of like, on business offices, like, oh, I think I booked this conference room for 2:00. Did you? I'll check Outlook, and like we're having. Okay, guys, I'm sorry, we're gonna have to go to, conference room 2D. Because
somebody
they've got an Amway situation.
Well, somebody peed in the corner of the room.
That's
we have
right.
a disgruntled.
Yeah,
and we're still working that out. So, anyways,
are we still gonna?
The fern looks great though.
Hi, Robert. Hi, Marilee. Hello, Central Virginia Real Estate.
That's Scott.
Oh, that's Scott Fogelman. All
right. It's like it's like kind of like an 80s band name almost.
It was very much. Scott, I think you've got your 80s band name already. Central Virginia Real Estate.
Central Ohio Biking Association.
Right. Yeah.
Great, like indie band.
Feels like a good indie band name. Are you still doing the thing we were going to do?
Okay, ready? Here we go.
You've got all this.
Here we go. Here comes.
You start. You go first. Okay, here's the official intro of the show, everybody.
Oh, yeah. Where's my backups?
Oh, they're singing.
This is the remix.
I think we have that.
Okay.
So, hey, everybody, welcome. Hey, thank you for joining us today. It's kind of a surprise show. We just kind of decided a couple of days ago to do this. This is Eugene and Dylan's guitar show. I'm Eugene right here. That's Dylan Caligiuri right over there.
That's me.
And I just came back from Yuma, Arizona, my hometown, because it's dove hunting season.
Yeah. And does he not look? I wish they could see the whole thing. He looks like an LL Bean.
I also have my duck boots on.
Like feature, right?
You know what? They should be so lucky. All right, Mr. Bean.
Eat your heart out, LL Bean. How about that?
Wait, is it Mr. Bean? Any hoozles, we're here now. It's March Mad Licks today, and what we're doing now, he just came up with a pun.
I'll tell you,
that's the show. We haven't really talked about what we're gonna do, but
I asked for
have
mushrooms
thoughts.
on a burger, and they got liberal.
Wrong mushrooms. Yeah. So I had an experience.
Yeah.
Musical. This is a tale from the road, and I have a good trick that I learned kind of on stage at the last second.
Oh, okay.
First of all, so my band, the Eugene Edwards band, been doing a lot of club gigs lately, and we have. I don't know if I talked about this because we were back here in December, but we've done 2 shows with a burlesque troupe.
Oh, I've seen this. Yes.
Right. And they're
vibrant,
tremendous performers. Absolute
also
pros.
Courageous.
But just really, really well organized. Like they know what they're doing. So my whole thing, so we did a Christmas show in December, and then a couple weeks ago we did they just called it a honky tonk brunch, and it was so we just kind of did country Americana tunes, and they shook their thing to it. Now,
a honky tonk brunch, folks. I just want to make sure that y'all picked up on that.
It was a honky tonk brunch down at Hermosa Beach.
Y'all get your honky tonk mimosas today, or what?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Daytime. In fact, I think from the stage, I said, "Here's the bad decision Sundays."
Yeah.
But no. Because no, we're not going to rehearse with these dancers. There's just not enough time, budget, those things, They knew what songs we were going to do. I sent them the list of what songs we were going to do, what versions, and they chose the songs to which they would dance.
Yeah.
But we had an hour or so before the show was even starting, so I was talking to some of the performers, and I said, "Does anybody have any questions? Do any of you need your songs to be longer or shorter?" These songs are usually pretty malleable.
Sure.
And one of the dancers, she said something, and this is just good. This is just showbiz right here.
Wow.
She says, "Once you see pasties, it's time to wrap it up."
Okay. So if pasties come out,
if you see that, Just go ahead, hit the tag.
You need to leave.
No, it's just time to end the song. Yes,
okay,
please stay.
Mind. That's what.
But that because she's there's nowhere else to go after that. I thought, right. If you look like a skeleton hanging in a biology class, then we missed the ending. You know. So now here's something I learned. Do you happen to have a slide anywhere in the room? I'm so sorry to do this to you. If you don't, it's okay. It's okay.
I don't.
Oh, that's fine. So another one of the club gigs we were doing in the set list, we do the Mercury Blues.
Oh,
now sort of oddly enough in my head, well, yes, in my brain, I'm doing the David Lindley version from the early 80s, which was in F, but I can't sing in his range.
Oh, he's really high.
So I lower it down to D natural, which is where Alan Jackson does it.
Is it D or does he do E flat?
No, he's in D. He's in song.
If I had money,
that's the most famous version anyway. So I kind of get away with it. You know what I mean? Now but I do like to play slide because of the David Lindley version.
Yeah.
But and sometimes I'll bring a separate guitar that's tuned to an open E major chord for slide, which is very Duane Allman-y, very blues. But sometimes the momentum of the night, I don't feel like switching guitars. I want to just go. So I tell the drummer, just go ahead and start. He starts the groove.
That's too slow?
No, it's good. I had money, I'll tell you what I do. I go downtown and buy a Mercury to go crazy about a Mercury. Crazy about the Mercury. I'm gonna buy me a Mercury and use it up and down the road. So it's kind of a bluesy solo. It's really kind of a 12 bar, but it has a surprise 6 minor in it. That's what's really hip about the song. Now, I didn't have time to really retune my entire telly.
Oh yeah.
So here's the trick. You're
not in an open tuning for that.
Well, that's what I was saying earlier. I brought another guitar that was tuned to an open E.
Oh wow.
Which would be very, very legit. However, what?
Well, guitar players that bring 2 guitars, that means they really like the audience. I just want to throw that out there. Because I will bring 2 guitars for heads of state, for queens visiting monarchies.
Yeah.
Other than that, we'll change a string if we have to.
Malala.
Yeah.
Something like that. So, no, you're right. That's the truth.
That's
but in this case, it was just the momentum of the set was going by. And there were lots of dancers. I didn't want to stop. So I told her, just start it. Now, so here's the math I do. And there's a great quick tip. I just took, because there's a rhythm guitar player, there's a bass player, there's drums. I think we also had a piano player. So in terms of playing lead, I'm really just going to use my top 4 strings. Let's be real, right?
Yeah.
So I simply tuned my high E string down a full step.
And now you've got a D guitar, basically.
And now, now I'm just going to play I'm playing slide out of my A shape very comfortably because, and I'll show you what you
got all 6s in there.
So now my high E string
on top. Yeah.
My high E string is now a D natural. So now my top 4 strings, I'm making basically an A shaped major chord. And when I slide, you're gonna hear that sort of stuff. I screwed up there.
Yeah,
because everything's on one fret. So it's a real. I have a tuner on the floor. I'm just retuning one string for this song, and I can still. And I've got these really nice double stop access to these sorts of blues. So that's a little tip from the road. What say you, good buddy?
So did you guys catch that? So if you're gonna play over Mercury Blues at a burlesque, basically.
Yeah.
So it's not every place necessarily, but if that situation arises,
the drummer starts Mercury Blues and you see a feather boa and a lot of tassels, just retune one string. Okay.
You're not at church. Okay. So nobody's going to listen.
Speaking of which, have you still doing your gospel gigs a lot?
Still doing gospel gigs. I did that Tom Jones gig. That was probably the biggest one so far. And every time I do that,
Tom Jones, or is it Tom Jones tribute?
Oh, Tom Jones tribute.
Okay.
Yeah, no. Tom Jones, I think, is in Europe. But this is a good tribute because everybody in the band, with the exception of one kid that plays piano, was previously in and still does actively tour with Tom Jones.
Right.
And all the gigs are great paying gigs, and they and the guy that sings it.
Everyone loves Tom Jones, by the way.
Yeah, well,
people that work for everyone loves Tom Jones. I've never heard a bad story.
Listen, and I've heard he's a playboy, but in his day.
I think that was a while ago.
But even then he was a. I just want to make sure you guys are still here. You can hear us okay, time. Right? Because
it's been awfully silent in the chat,
and maybe it was something that
we might be off the air.
Eugene said, "No, we're on the air." Let's see. Hi, are you still here? Let's see. Now that'll give us. Well, see, there's people here.
Yeah, I gave a great tip there too. I hope they are.
Yep. Okay. Good.
Okay. They're just listening.
No,
They're not used to that.
This is me speaking to into the interstellar.
Go ahead.
So anyway, so there is a song, and it's called Detroit City, and it's by him, and it has this really, it's a really old one, by the way, and it's so you have to take this string and make it a B, and the riff for the song, see, it's this. And the band comes in where there's someone
that is wild.
And it's like, I have never had a gig where
it's like a slack key tuning intro.
Bizarre.
Wow, I got to hear the record
song
now.
Is really strange. But it's a Tom Jones. You got to do
Tom Jones of Mars Attacks. That one.
Mars Attacks.
And Eileen says, super low quality. We're blurry, apparently.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
That might just be my personality.
That could be. Let's see.
Sorry, guys. Thank you for letting us know.
Yeah.
Thank you for letting us know.
Oh, let's try getting rid of this.
Yeah. And
this is streaming.
But by the way, real quick, this don't own a Les Paul. This is Dylan's. And this was, I think, they called them the Road Worn?
Right, they did.
So Gibson, and only for about a year or so, it wasn't very long, they came out with this Road Worn series, and I seriously considered getting one, and then I just let the moment pass. It's a no frills Les Paul, so it's a slab body, no binding, no flame maple, anything. So basically, it's the aesthetics of Les Paul special, like the juniors, the two pickup specials, right? It's kind of like that, but it has full humbuckers, and it's just this really, and the cost of these things at the time, they were below $1,000, but they were not Epiphones.
Yeah, they used to be really cheap too.
And so Dylan, I guess you grabbed this one off Reverb or something like that.
I got
or
that
did you get
one,
it inside a store?
I got from Guitar Center, actually.
Yeah, so
like a used one.
This is, and you essentially made an entire record for somebody and just basically used this guitar
almost
for everything.
Entirely that guitar
records beautifully.
I'll tell you the story about this. So I had delivered the album to Sony Extreme, which is the music library that I write for. Yeah. I hear it's better. Yeah. And you know what it is the high grade NVIDIA chip that's in this computer. No, there's no NVIDIA chip in this computer. Yeah. So I had another thing running from when we had the previous session, and I closed it. Sorry about that, guys. But so basically I brought the album in, and they're like, I mean, it's great. You've heard a little bit of it.
Oh, I think it's really good.
And they're like, it's great, man. Do you own a Gibson? And first of all, I was impressed. Okay, first of all, I was offended, actually.
Yeah.
So first I was offended.
That's what I thought was coming.
And then I was like, Dylan, swallow it. Yeah. Don't let the big boy see you cry.
Right. That's right.
Yeah. And then I immediately said, do you kiss your mother with that mouth?
Oh,
that's so I just came right back with a zinger.
This thing escalates.
And after quickly. We sort of worked that out, and I had to do a written apology and all. Anyway, so the point is it's a few months later. I went out and I said no, I actually don't. I own a Gibson, I own a hollow body and some other, I own a 335, but I didn't own like a Les Paul, right? And not for any other reason than they're really heavy and expensive. And so so he was like, I just want you to do a pass on all these with a Gibson. And honestly, he wasn't wrong.
No, there's a studio in the Valley where I'll do some sessions occasionally, and Mark DeSisto, the engineer and the guy who runs the studio, he moved out here from Boston decades ago, and he had bought in 1977. He bought a black Les Paul at the time. Just had it with him. He's not a guitar player. It just stays at his studio.
Sure.
Unbelievable.
Wow. Yeah.
I recorded, like, I could mimic a hollow body jazz guitar, clean telly sort of stuff. You just can't, it's great. If you just learn how to work the pots, we could go on and on about Les Pauls, but that's the story on this guitar. And I'll tell you what, if you see these guys, road worn Les Pauls, they're probably gone up in price.
I mean,
maybe
not.
Maybe
this
they haven't changed that much.
Way under $1,000, dude. This is like $800.
Don't tell me. Oh, God darn it.
Yeah, it was pretty cheap.
So where's
it's beat up?
March Mad Licks, right? And that's the thing. You're not afraid to beat this one up, like as we're a proper Les Paul. You might,
Can I tell you guys a story about what last?
Now's not the time or place, Dylan.
So I am. What am I? 20, 21, 22 or something, and I'm on the road. I probably told you this.
I don't know.
And the artist I'm with gets a brand new guitar. Okay.
Right.
And their father is the manager.
Okay.
And the first thing he does, they're very excited about their brand new guitar.
Okay.
And they're going on and on and on about it. And of course, we all at that time have serious drinking problems. So, but not me. I was a good boy. But like the thing that happened was the dad just took the guitar, went with his key and gave it back to them and said, there you go. Now we don't have to hear about it anymore. And that was how that worked out.
Teachable moment.
Candy apple red guitar, Strat, brand new.
My godfather, he's a classic car guy, and and he restore classic cars for clients. So he had a business, and with some of these clients, you could tell they were going to be nervous wrecks.
Yeah.
Once this car is done.
Sure.
So his advice to them was, and a lot of his clients are pretty wealthy. Take the car out somewhere.
I'm not one of them. Yeah.
Find a nice little tree.
Sure.
Softly, just go ahead and just go into that tree a little bit on the corner, just enough to scratch some paint. Don't bring it back. We fix it. You'll know that it's fixable, and you will not feel so precious about this car because you want to drive this car and not be worried about it. So go ahead, just give it a scratch. We'll come back. We'll fix it. Now you know it can be fixed. And
I'm not a guitar trader, right? I'm not buying guitars with the preconceived idea of reselling them already. Sorry.
It's just I can't see you anything, but it's
robot tuners.
No, no. This was before the robot tuner move, and you're right. That was wild.
Squire Bullet, they are ace.
Maybe Rory, they are. I don't know. Are they, Rory? Are you joking? I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I don't think I have.
I haven't had that request, but this is the group of writers. It's called Saint Rogue, by the way, the record label under Sony Extreme, and they they're artsy fartsy, and they'll go and get really poopy guitars,
specifically get a cheap guitar.
This is what we're looking for. Just something that's like LA's vibe, you guys. It's all vibe. Everything has to be vibe all the time.
Good vibrations. It was made here.
Yeah.
So talking about licks real quickly.
All right, March Mad Licks begins.
Okay, so here's one. Now this is going to be a repeat for Marilee because she's a private student, and it was a request of hers that got me on this on this trip right here. Some of my favorite licks. They're not necessarily difficult to play. It's not a matter of, wow, that was difficult to play. It was just the fact that that sometimes that it works so well. So one of them, and then once you come upon it, it's like, well, that's not very involved, but it's right.
Yeah.
Breakdown by Tom Petty.
Ooh.
Okay, so Start My Groove. Now, it just at first we just hear the drums, the electric piano and bass. They just establish a dun.
See that song is.
So we just kind of get this vibe going, right? Do you know how you've tuned your guitar at this point, Dylan? You've all saw this one coming, right?
Tom Jones attacks again.
It's like we were watching a magician on stage, and we saw him put the dove in the wrong pocket, and now he's trying to find it. You know where the dove is,
and then you see a flask fall out, right?
So this is just going. This is real soft, though. No, just power chords too, by the way. No power chords, no thirds. Sorry. That's important. Now, before the main lick that we know, before the do-do-do-do-do, Mike Campbell just comes in. He almost. Oh, sorry. that. No, the groove continues. It doesn't stop.
Oh, it doesn't stop.
So keep going.
Guitar band used to do that.
And then, but this, okay, that first thing he does, it's just an A minor pentatonic move. Based on it, I kind of think this is like a D minor shape.
Keep going. I'm gonna
at the 8th fret.
Get the camera on.
It's all out of that shape. I don't know if you can, buddy, without, well, I guess, or you just block this shot. Okay, so we've been gone for a couple of months. We did not go to production school. Do you understand?
Well, we tried.
Yeah.
But, there was a
there was
to actually matriculate.
If this doesn't get me my LL Bean, there you go. Okay, so no, it looks great. It's right. Okay, so 8th fret high E on the B string 10. Is it 10 8, 9 on the G, and then 8 10 on the B. But it's not just the notes that he's playing. Now that's just kind of just notes from the A minor.
It's how he played it.
It's how.
It's the Maya Angelou thing.
The very first note is kind of the loudest, and it sounds like he's kind of coming under his fingers, not using the pick. So that gets snaps, and then the rest. And then the root note gets a nice vibrato, and then it trails off. It comes and it goes. It's just this really nice little sneaky thing that comes in, and then we think, is that it? What happened? And then we hear the. And I'll talk about that lick in a second. Yeah, you can't help it, right? Because it's such a good hook. But the fact that he plays this little, I love that song, the articulations that sells this thing. The snap of the high E string, the pull off, and that vibrato. It's the articulations that let you know you're in the hands of a master. It's not as complicated as like an Al Di Meola lick or anything else going on. It's really simple bluesy move. But we know that the guitar player is going to be great because he kind of telegraphs this with his little articulations. Then the main lick, and maybe a lot of you already have realized this, it's the A minor pentatonic scale, and he takes one note, he slides down a whole step and back, then he goes down to the next note of the scale, slides down and back. And Dylan talks all the time about when you're practicing your scales, start to mess with the sequencing of it. I'm going to have you give some demonstrations when I'm done here. But this is A, E, and A. Basically, it's root, fifth, and root. But
that's a good point, Jim.
So when he goes down a full step, he's still on a note part that's part of the blues scale, if you will. When he goes down from this one, he's going down. So he stays diatonic the whole time. He just basically found some notes from the scale and just kind of like messed with each one in the same manner and got himself a very, very, very cool lick.
Yeah.
And the story there is that it's from like a 7-minute jam over this groove that he was just soloing. Somewhere like in minute 4, he hits that a couple of times and moves on. Later on, Tom Petty and a friend were listening to this, and they were that. What did Mike do there? Have him come back and do that, and that's how you find it.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah. There you go. So that's always my question: is who, especially on that earlier albums, there's producing involved in this, you guys, because guitar players, when they're young, especially, not many of them have the discipline in place to play something simple, repeat it the same way twice. And I'm not saying Mike Campbell, by the way, but I mean,
no, but that you're making a very, very good point.
Oh, this is like, it's really hard for people to do, like the less is more thing. And it's not actually less, because it's actually hard to repeat something verbatim and put a ton of style into it and then be disciplined in your approach from that point forward.
Mary Lee makes a good point. Repeat is always good for a porous brain.
Wow, that is
she got that from a fortune cookie.
Is that Socrates?
And it's Socrates. So
it does. It sounds like so crazy.
So can you give us another example of like just a simple scale and then how you manipulate the scale to kind of create a melody?
Sure. I mean, it's not going to be with that amazing shot that I just made for,
I know. It's
for Eugene, but it'll be something nonetheless. So
need a haircut.
Let's say I need a haircut.
I need it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do need a haircut.
I really know. I desperately need one. I was going to go today, but I just didn't. Something with there's a fire. So you'll have to imagine I have that incredible shot. Actually, you know what? I'll have Eugene do this right after I do this.
Oh, okay.
So I'll show it to him, and then he can show you guys up close. So a way you guys can work on this technique in an isolating way that's outside of just that lick. So with something you already know how to use, right? The pentatonic scale. So if you take the highest note of the pentatonic scale, slide up to its neighbor, back to the highest note, and then pull off. So same thing on the next string. And there's going to be 3 strings.
So when you slid up, you just went up a whole step, regardless of what that note was going to be. Because I noticed as you went later on, you were hitting some very non-diatonic. That's fine. That's fine.
Here's where we get into some froggy.
That's
stuff,
fine.
Right?
This one. That's interesting. It's interesting. This next one, though.
Now we're really at
major 6. So
okay, now we got.
So he's going to step out of the scale and he doesn't care.
And then going up. And if you start at this fret and work on that, sorry. And then go up 1 fret. Sorry.
So the idea here, obviously, you wouldn't play that whole thing as like the lick to a song, but if you're a lead guitar player,
like a polyphony song or something, yeah.
Well, no, but if you're making you're making yourself a nice little loop, and you want to, or maybe you're a songwriter and you kind of want to have a little something, and you don't. Point is, you don't have to think of yourself. Maybe some of you guys are rhythm players and more songwriters. You don't have to think of yourself as, well, I am not a lead guitar player, so I can't put a lick here. Ultimately, I'll tell you, after you play long enough, Dylan and I, we don't think of ourselves as people that play lead and rhythm. We're just guitar players. There's no difference.
I think,
I'll play whatever, and if there's a guitar riff or lick in the intro, we can play it. If they need a guitar solo somewhere in the middle, we can play that. But I'll tell you what, on Sunday I did this gig, and I was one of 3 guitar players on stage, which actually turned out to be a blast because mostly roots and rockabilly stuff. And these are guys I've known for a very, very long time. On any given tune, say it's like a cool like honky tonk thing. That's the groove in G. So one guitar player's already got that line. The other guy's strumming acoustic, and then I'm just gonna match the snare on 2 and 4. It just helps the groove. Now, in that point, I'm playing a rhythm part, but of course, I did play a solo later on that song. It wasn't like I had to change my entire mentality.
Yeah.
It all becomes just one thing. You're just playing over the song in general. So I'm saying, just go ahead and feel like if you're practicing scales anyway, there's a melody in there. As like you said, all melodies are really part of some scale somewhere. And this is a great example of the breakdown. And then yes, he's got a little call and response, and then he goes back to it. Then when he resolves, vibrato. When he lands on that last note of each part of that, he gives a little. You can't help but do it, can you? It's that good.
It's a shave and a haircut situation.
That's a lick that makes me mad. Madness with love. That's a mad lick. What you got?
So wait a minute. Let's see. Mike Campbell, why do we rarely see open minor tunings for slide? John, because you can get a minor sound with an open tuning without having to change the tuning. So like if you open tune to a chord, as you play up that chord with just basically the idea of an open tuning with a slide is that you can just kick this shape, right, the bar shape, and move it, and you have a chord of some type.
Everywhere you go, yeah.
Like if it's a pedal steel, you have a major 6 chord, but you can do the same thing. And as you move up in reference to your key, you're going to be playing a minor chord. You're going to be playing a different a different quality of chord as you move up. So I don't know if that made sense at all, but basically,
no.
It's so in reference to the key.
So, for instance, if okay, I'm going to tune myself. Let's just do this. We're here. We have time. Come on. So
this is correct. This is earth shattering.
Wait, if you do that, I can't.
So this is where you could grab a beverage, right? Nothing too far away. You could do some push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups, assuming you don't have any pre-existing injuries. You definitely want to take care of those. Get a drum kit while he's tuning. Eric, thank you. That's another. I mean, I like it when people think outside the box. You know what I mean? This is also a great time to learn origami, perhaps.
Okay, so I've tuned to an open E chord. Right?
Yeah.
So the idea here is that if I had a slide. By the way, I lost my slide on that stripper gig. By the way, so I have to go order some more. So here's a.
Sorry, Mom.
If the song's in E, then here's my 1 chord. When I go to the 4 chord, you guys know how this works. That's at the 5th fret. My 5 chord's at the 7th fret. Okay, so that way we hear a major triad chord going across the fret. Now, if you play a progression in E, obviously. This sort of thing. Now, if he goes to a C sharp minor, our relative 6 at this point, I've got to sort of let's do the math here. Now, stay there. That's
C sharp minor.
Thank you. Now that's the minor. Okay, so I can still, even though I'm tuned to an open E major chord, I can still play over that C sharp minor because anyone? Because E major
is the relative major of C sharp minor.
So they're going to share a lot of the same notes. C sharp minor and E major share a lot of the same notes. So keep playing the and throw the 6. So now. Now notice this. I was able to play my G and B strings over the C sharp and still sound diatonic to that chord.
Yeah.
If you went to the 2 minor, F sharp minor, I'm going to go to the 5th fret. You see what I'm doing? So now you just sort of understand this is where chord theory and all that stuff sort of comes in play, but you can still make it work. Now, here's the other thing. Aha. But problem is, obviously, now I'm tuned to this open E major chord.
It took a lot of effort.
I can't manipulate. My G is now tuned up to the major 3rd. It's tuned up half a step. So unfortunately, I really can't. I can't make this E major a minor without going to my tuning key. But what I could do, go ahead.
You can't make it an E major a minor, but what you keep going.
No, this is perfect. So I know where you're going.
But what you can do is, in reference to the key, you can play a major chord that has a minor root. So the same chord with a different root will be a minor chord. So if I play E major 7 and I give it the root of G sharp, this is now G sharp minor 7.
We get essentially a G sharp minor
because those have all the same notes in it, right? And so, and not only that, G sharp is also the 3rd of E. So this gets into kind of the basics of diatonic harmony, kind of the first step of it, but
without using those fancy terms.
Yeah,
we're just kind of like make and do as we go along.
And that's what everybody does.
Which we can do. Yeah. Now, there is a cool. Let's see. Now, slide players do have tricks. Believe me. Like where if I'm fretting, everything's along the foot. If I had something, but what they'll do is they may, with a finger behind the glass, they may fret the G and then pull it sharp to get a sus4 move. You hear the
can't do it.
That sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I've seen guys, lap steel players will do that. They'll be they'll have a chord
and they
and they'll take and they'll pull the string. It looks like a magic trick. Let's say they've got their bar here, but then this string will take a string and pull it sharp. And so even though it's being played by the slide, they'll pull it sharp, which is you'll hear like a pedal steel move, but he didn't have pedals. They just used their hands.
Here's something cool.
So
I have never heard a slide player that wasn't a feel player. So like when we talk about field players versus non-field players,
what's that mean?
I mean, this is something that's kind of subjective, right? But field players, Stevie Ray Vaughan was a field player, right? People who might play a lot of the same stylized ideas, but they're so fantastically stylized and unique to that individual that they end up being.
It works.
It just works.
They just make it work.
So if we sat down and we sat with some musicologist and we tracked every Stevie Ray Vaughan, like we're going to find actually quite a bit of repetition.
Oh, sure.
Same thing with Jimi Hendrix or like all of our favorite guitar players, actually. And so, but one of the cool things about slide is anything that's only legato like that.
Yeah.
It makes you into a field player. It makes you into somebody that and there's probably some exception out there, but it makes you into somebody that's not really thinking nearly as much about an analytical approach and is just worried about sound and tones.
Yeah.
And
like, for instance, going back, so like when Stevie Ray Vaughan, he's brought into the studio to play on a couple of David Bowie songs. He didn't try and play like anybody who'd play like David. He was brought in to play like Stevie Ray Vaughan on Let's Dance.
That's
play
right.
like Stevie on China Girl. Bring your style with you. That's kind of something a field player does.
It's the best part of Let's Dance, by the way.
It's that's fantastic.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, Let's Dance is just a great pop record, and then
it's still the best part.
Let's throw Stevie Ray Vaughan on top of this. The other thing, the one of the slide players who almost gets a separate lesson when I'm Rory Gallagher, a great slide player, wonderful slide player.
Yeah, Rory Gallagher is a quintessential.
I'll talk about open E tuning, some of the open tunings and very Dwayne Allman centric stuff, and Elmore James, that sort of thing. But George Harrison ends up having a separate room altogether. Yeah. He never used open tuning, so he's actually. So also he rarely plays, like you never hear him pulling full chords. He kind of really thinks
like 2 notes, 1 note.
He thinks, or he'll overdub a harmony to it, but he almost approaches it more like somebody who had been playing sitar for a few years first.
Yeah.
So his melody choices are different. His just what he chooses to play, because it's almost like he's emulating something. He's not a blues based rock electric slide player, which is weird. So we get these. We get those. Now this is not, since it's not an open tuning, he's got to make a lot of movements there and be very, very accurate. The time with the sitar helps with this.
Yeah.
Or even thinking of like, he would do these long swoops in Isn't It a Pity?
He's going to the deep cuts, folks.
From 6 to 12. So he's just got this really nice moves, and the way he treats his vibrato is very specific. But so there's room. But pick up a slide, and if you can pick up a couple for me too.
A full-sized hollow body in the studio for a lot of that, right?
He's playing a Strat.
Yeah,
it's a Strat. Almost always a Strat.
But on several of the videos, it may just be the videos. He's playing that hollow body like a full on a.
Keep your hands to yourself.
Yeah, he's playing like a.
That's not George Harrison.
Am I missing him up? George Harrison.
Who do you think?
I meant George Thorogood.
Oh, Thorogood. Yeah. He's playing like 175 or 135 or something like that.
That's why.
Now Thorogood tunes to an open E.
Yeah.
He's an Elmore James style guy. You're there.
Anyway. So, but what I was going to tell you guys, one way to really approach becoming a field player yourself. Hey, Michael, how you doing? Is to take a lick that you really like. So let's say the lick was just that much. And so if I just played that with no feel, it'd be right. So if I start adding feel in, so it's all of the nuance that makes the feel playing, and most specifically, it's definitely really good time feel.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, I mean that's what it really is. These guys have fantastic time. So I think it's something where you do less, but focus on more detail of what you're doing. And that's where really being in love with a specific guitar player and just wanting to own everything they do for yourself helps you become a field player. And every field player I've known, and I grew up loving field players.
Yeah.
Like there would be these guys and gals in town that would just really, they would blow you away playing guitar, and they weren't necessarily doing complex things, you know.
Michael serves at feel, groove. What's the difference? To me, off the top of my head, groove is time specific. It really has to do with someone's sense of swing and time. And, you know, if they can control whether they play a little bit ahead of the beat, a little bit behind, right on it. That's how we affect groove. Feel is groove plus things like articulations.
Yeah.
Like you know, feel has a lot to do with the vibrato, sliding, ham-runs, pull-offs. That gives a lick a feel. Again, here are the notes if we were to just write them out of that opening lick to breakdown. Now that's very staccato. It's just very dry. Okay, I didn't play it legato, meaning all the notes.
It's robotic.
Like
yeah,
it's very robotic. But now, and I played it all with a flat pick downstrokes. Now I'm gonna snap the first note with my finger. You know, I'm going to do a hybrid picking. I'm going to use pull-offs. I'm going to use some vibrato. I'm going to slur. I'm going to slide off that last note and give it a bit of a tail. These are things and also I'm going to give it just a little bit of a swing, a little more groove to it. And then that's why it's so cool. That's why it's
what makes notating it so hard too. Right. There's a lot to put in there.
So
you know?
Michael's asking, what is swing?
Let's see. So
we can define this in a couple different ways.
Oh, thank you, Scott. Yeah, I'm going to post more. That's the same thing I do with the college students.
Oh yeah, those are awesome.
I'll post more of those, like exactly what I show them to drill stuff. Scott's talking about a cage video I post on our Patreon. So we're going to keep trying to add value to the Patreon, you guys. So if you don't belong, please join. Michael, what is swing? So if you have 2/8 notes, the most simple answer, right, is 2/8 notes would sound like this when they're straight.
What note do you want?
How about A? So okay, now play a triplet. So a triplet's gonna go da, 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 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2. So we're gonna take the middle note of the triplet out. And it's gonna be 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3.
We're getting rid of the middle note. We're dropping the middle note. Another way to think of it is long, short, short. And that's where, like, that's the key to like how to get the swing shuffle feel of something like Cold Shot, which obviously has a lot of string muting, has a lot going on, but ultimately it's the first note is longer, the second one notice that first one's a little longer in duration than the second one. Same thing for or this is, but heavy metal players know this. It's the gallop, they call it, right? It's the gallop feel. But we're still basing it on this long short thing. But think of it as a triplet. If you first start playing a triplet slowly. Triplet, 1 2 3 1 2 3. Now I'm just gonna
middle one.
I'm not gonna play on 2. 1 2 3 1 2.
And you're swinging. They were swinging.
Now we have some swing to
John
it.
Anderson.
Oh, that's a great record. That's a great record. Could you imagine the pressure of being the student? Well, not those guys didn't feel pressure, but you're cutting this John Anderson swinging. The song's called Swinging, and you're going to record. It's like, I guess we better make.
I guess we better actually make sure we're swinging on this one.
The onus is on the rhythm player.
See, and the key is if you're doused with alcohol, you don't feel pressure at all. You just feel your liver. But so as opposed to like a shuffle, right? So if we had.
It's an uneven rhythm on purpose. Very good.
Exactly. So this is, if you listen to this one, what's the difference? Does that make sense to everybody? It's very similar.
Then there's something I think we've talked about. I don't know. It was in the private
the shuffle swing or swing shuffle.
The straight shuffle.
Yeah.
It was like, well, wait a minute.
Yeah.
You just told me to swing. So I always think of like those great Al Green records, or Tempted by Squeeze. It's boom boom dum boom dum boom dum boom dum boom dum boom. It's got it's straight, but it's still a matter of that unevenness is still there. It's just not swinging like a big band tune.
A swung shuffle in the drums on the snare is.
Talk about March Mad licks.
Yeah, like so this lick right here.
You listen to KLOS 95.5.
So that lick, to play that, you guys, with actually making it sound right is harder than you think. It's this whole like a
yeah, I know.
Like that's not something that comes really naturally to people. Mm-hmm. So it ends up, you guys need to grow your beards out.
Oh, we should.
Didn't we do a Halloween episode where I wore?
I don't. Or did I get? So.
I you know what?
You must have threatened.
We did. Okay, so
what
you guys,
What's
so this is
on?
a little behind the scenes. We tried to do so I always came with wacky ideas for Fender Play Live. Like I wanted to do one where I had a ZZ Top beard.
I didn't know this.
Yes, and I brought it to the executives.
I didn't go to a lot of the production meetings. If you ever saw
no, but it was just basically it was like, we're not going to.
Why not?
And I was like, really? So are we going to offend the beard crowd?
What were they afraid of?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I just, I think maybe it was just too like goofy, but it was like
considering some of the other stuff they asked you to do, that
didn't seem that goofy to me. But so gratuitously, Dylan actually got canceled. That's not the only time I got canceled, Eric. I got canceled multiple times, by the way, for other things. Yeah. Anyways, yeah. But hey, somebody had to get canceled, right?
Was it Guitar George? Yes, he knew all the fancy chords.
Yes.
Nice. I caught you, Eric. I see you. I got that one.
Alvin Lee. So can I tell you guys a story? Mm-hmm. Alvin Lee, when I first started playing country guitar, part of the reason I learned so many like just ridiculous country licks was because I was a complicated kid, and I wanted to learn complicated things. That's why I like jazz. That's why I like shredding in general. I think if you're just a complicated person, you make your life harder.
A very active brain you have.
There you go. And Alvin Lee is about as ridiculous as you get.
Notoriously fast guitar player, especially in the late 60s. This was before the Yngwie Malmsteen, Eddie Van Halen world came. He's playing blues rock. Alvin Lee, 10 years after Woodstock, going home, right? That was and he would use his pinky as well in his fret hand. So he was just getting these really, really fast.
This guy runs. It was totally unique.
Yeah.
When I heard that stuff, you guys, heavy metal solo shredding to me and that were not any different. Or
you're
like
right.
Jazz shredding and that to me were not any different.
It was all in the same bag.
Different
for you.
Style, maybe different approach. And when you go to Western swing, now there's not even really a different approach. Now it's just literally maybe different note choices and different emphasis on the syllables of their notes. Yeah. So you get the general idea.
Well, everybody, thank you for joining us. I've got to run because I've got to get back to my catalog shoot.
I have a rehearsal tonight. I think he's going to he wants to make sure that L Bean vest gets he doesn't want it to get damaged.
I don't want to get I can't get this thing hurt. You kidding me?
Yeah.
This is real down.
That's real down.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, thank you so much for joining us for this hour, for just kind of kicking back with us. It's great to see you guys. Are we doing this next week again?
I think so. Yeah. Let me
keep an eye on our feeds.
There's a week where I'm gone in the Bay Area, but we'll do it as soon as we can.
Just keep an eye on your feeds. We'll let you know at the beginning of next week whether we're here or not.
Yeah,
and bring your have your guitars ready. Have some questions.
I like that, Michael. Duck, Michael. No, exactly. Hey, thanks for being here, guys. I appreciate you.
Take us out with LaGrange.
Okay.
Actually, I don't know how to end the show anyway.